both of them wanting the spot. Kyle Wyman able to make the move. Then last lap, last corner, Troy Herfoss able to make the pass, but Kyle Wyman able to turn under him and was able to get the win. Barely over Troy Herfoss. You see Kyle there. Big win for Kyle and also for Harley right there in Harley's backyard. And also was a big race for Kyle to claw those 5 points back.
On that new look, the all-black Harley Davidson for Kyle Wyman. His teammate James Rispoli also debuted that beautiful new white bike as well. Here are the championship point standings as they are after 8 rounds. 8 races of competition. Troy Herfoss leading the way by 9 points over Kyle Wyman, and then Tyler O'Hara right there in third.
Yeah, just with Troy and Kyle, you can see they've separated themselves from the rest of the guys. Last year's champion Hayden Gillum there in 5th, 95 points back. So it looks like it's going to come down to Troy and Kyle.
Yeah, you saw how big that gap was after Herfoss and Wyman. Those are the only 2 riders that have been able to find winner circles so far this season, each of them with 4 victories. But Troy Herfoss has been able to finish on the podium 8 times, all 8 races this year. Kyle Wyman, the reason he's 9 points back is because he's only finished on the podium 7.
And just the consistency, you know, you win your championships usually on your bad days, and just trying to manage those. And we still have so much racing left between those 2, so I'm excited. I'm excited to watch. It seems like whenever those 2 battle, it comes down to the last lap, last corner.
Yeah, it's incredible how much this category has grown, not just in terms of interest, you know, from the general public, but also, you know, the bikes are so much more developed than what they were last year, and your race-to-race teams are still developing different bits and pieces on all of these bagger bikes, but also in terms of their schedule. You know, they started off as just an exhibition with what was it, 3 exhibition rounds, and now here we are at a full-blown 18-race championship for these baggers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and also too the fans that love it, just how big it's getting, and you know, the riders, the teams. You're talking Factory Harley, Factory Indian, Vanson High, and Saddleman. There's so many really big teams. That's great to see back in the sport. You know, you mentioned it being an exhibition race, and you see the lap times that these guys are turning. It's unbelievable. I would have never dreamed they would be turning the lap times that they're turning.
When we look at practice from this morning, it was that number 1 plate you see right there, Hayden Gillum, that led the full class this morning in the practice session. He also won here in the first race last season, so he certainly, you know, we saw him leading the Stock 1000 category earlier on today, if you're just now joining us. So it certainly is a track that he knows well. He enjoys riding here. You see Max Flinders right there. If you're with us here on MotoAmerica Live Plus, you saw that commercial run and just the exciting moments that Max Flinders has been able to enjoy over the last 2 seasons after putting in all of the time and the effort just to be out here with this family run program.
Yeah, Max last year when he got that first podium at New Jersey, and then this year, it just kind of tells you the person is, you know, the guys that win the race are more excited to see Max Flinders on the podium than they are to be there. And for Max, he put so much effort into his program, and that race at Road Atlanta, when it was half wet, half dry, the performance he put on there was so fun to watch.
He's a rider that always has a smile on his face, and because of that, he is not just a fan favorite, but he is a rider favorite out in the paddock. Everyone's still getting up to speed. They've only done 1 time lap so far, so it's a long session. They get 30 minutes of track time here to be able to figure out how to get these bikes around. After the practice session this morning, I mentioned it was Hayden Gillum who led everybody, but Rocco Landers was right there sitting in 2nd.
Yeah, and I think Rocco coming to this track, just one of his favorite tracks. He's so fast here. You know, he's been getting quicker on the bagger each race weekend, but just had some gremlins that step up here and there. Come in here this weekend and be 2nd this morning. I think Rocco right now is riding with his confidence as high as it ever has been. You know, so fast on Twins Cup bike today, pole position, couple podiums last race at Road America on it. He comes into a track that he loves, and now on the bagger, he's 2nd this morning.
This is Rocco that you're watching on the screen right now on that number 97, the Vanson Hines Harley Davidson. And you know, James Rispoli was on this bike last year, and when James moved over to the factory team, it opened up this seat, and Terry Vance looked within the MotoAmerica community to see who was here and who was ready to make this change, and Rocco Landers is who he looked at.
And Rocco needed a ride as well, so it worked out for both of them. And I think for Terry Vance to be able to come look for a rider, a young and up-and-coming rider who's got so much potential, you know, he probably couldn't believe he was able to get a ride. Talk about as far as this class has gone, a guy like Rocco wanting to come here and show his potential, and you know, he put a really good guy on it. Struggled a little bit early on, but you know, I think we all knew Rocco, so talented, was going to figure it out, and it looks like he has.
We saw just a moment ago on the screen, Troy Herfoss was still sitting on pit lane. It looked like the team was taking a couple extra moments to really look over that bike. I think I saw a flashlight that was out there looking through some things.
You know, we seen Rocco going into that turn 8 just then with his right leg hanging off the bike. That's the way we see him riding the Twins Cup bike when he's winning and breaking track records. And looks like now he's back to, you know, having that comfortability where, you know, not just the corners where he's braking hard, but even other corners when he's changing directions.
Don't want to get you too excited too early here, Roger. We've got almost 25 minutes left in this session, but when we're looking at the lap times right now, Tyler O'Hara went to the top of the board, a 1:35.4 for Tyler on just the third lap of this session. The track record here at Brainerd came last year in race number 1 from Bobby Fong. It was a 1:35.3. So we're already knocking on the door with over 24 minutes left in this session.
When we look at this morning's practice, I guess Hayden Gillum with the 35.2 would have broke it this morning. So you just showed you the pace. We talk about the lap times that these guys are turning and the speed that they're finding from one weekend to the next, where they're breaking track records from the previous whole year in the very first session.
It all comes from the development that continues to happen here in this category. The teams are given a blank slate and say, go build whatever it is that you can build. And what the teams are doing now with these bagger bikes is incredible.
And this weekend's going to be different for Troy. You know, this is the first weekend that doing Superbike and the bagger. He's did the hooligan and bagger at Daytona, but totally different animal going back and forth from a Superbike. Totally different going back and forth, not only the bikes, but also with the electronics of the Superbike. You know, you can spend a lot of time with your crew and your data guys, so it's going to be a lot to learn going back and forth.
Yeah, just on that point real quickly, before we talk about Kyle Wyman, if you are just joining us here on this bonus coverage on YouTube, Roger was just talking about Troy Herfoss making the move to Superbike. He is competing in 2 categories this weekend as he's filling in for Cameron Bobier over on the Superbike side of things, as we now have an issue for
Troy Herfoss.
And
it's the second one today.
We did see this bike come back on the truck after the first practice session, so that team's already put in a lot of work. But if you want to catch all of the action, all qualifying sessions and each of the races live in their entirety, go ahead and log on to MotoAmericaLivePlus.com, as the marshal is now helping Troy get this bike picked up, and this is certainly not the way he'd like to go into a doubleheader race weekend.
Looks like hard braking down into turn 3 there. Not sure. You see the front end, talk about the bumps. I believe that's might be where possibly he crashed this morning, but man, you see that bagger, as heavy as it is, the way it flipped, it looked like the right clip-on broke off, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get that thing back up. But that was you don't see the baggers usually flip like that.
No, but the weight of those bikes, to your point, when they do flip, there's so much behind them that the damage is usually pretty big. Looking back live now, as that bike is still off track and Troy's there with the marshals, trying to get it back together enough to be able to get it back to pit lane and see if the team can do anything with it with just over 21 minutes remaining in this session.
And, you know, the last session we were talking about, you know, the chance of rain tomorrow. It's not a big chance, but you never know. This is a qualifier, so, and the top 6 into the Mission Challenge. So this could be a big session for him, setting in 6. He's kind of on that cutoff right now.
See the number 43. This is James Rispoli. He's the teammate to Kyle Wyman for this season, and for James, it was a great opportunity that Harley-Davidson presented to him, and he was there with his hand up saying, yes, I'm in.
Yeah, and awesome for James there to be a factory rider. That's what everybody's dream is, and, you know, factory Harley calls you. And I think it's even bigger for a guy like James Spoley, who grew up as a flat tracker, and we all looked at Factory Harley our whole lives of, at the, their own little league. So I think for James able to get that call and be on the Factory team, that's what you worked for, and it was great to see. And James earned it with his results. Hasn't had the year, I don't think, that he would have liked. He's struggled at certain parts of the year. He's admitted that. But moving to a new team, and you think, well, what's the difference between one Harley and the other? Well, each team has their own, their own bike, their own development, and it's not that easy just to jump on the other brand and feel comfortable right away.
Yeah, the Factory team's able to have some different parts and pieces, and they're certainly developing things. Not to say that Vance and Hines, Screaming Eagles, any of the other teams aren't by any means. Everyone's doing their own work. So, but for James, he has been able to finish on the podium 3 times this season. But as we mentioned early on in this session, the only 2 riders that have won have been Kyle Wyman and Troy Herfoss. So nobody else has been able to move up and enjoy any of those victories. Looking on the left-hand side of your screen, that's Tyler O'Hara, who is currently sitting second in terms of qualifying results.
Just the point on Troy crashing so early in that session, this is another track that he has to learn. And, even though he is doing a superbike, so it's going to help you with that session, it's a little bit different on the bagger, and this is 2 crashes, and then you just miss out on that track time.
We saw that Tyler O'Hara was down on pit lane. Our own Joe Ankler is also down on pit lane. Joe?
Well, Tyler, I noticed you've come in for the pit stop here. Can you tell me what's going on, why the cause for the stop?
Yeah, we went out on a pretty used up tire that round, about 10 or 12 laps on it, so tire was a bit used up, so we're just out here. We're gonna throw some new rubber on, just chilling, hydrating. My Indian Challenge is running awesome, having a lot of fun out here at our home race for Indian Motorcycle. These SNS cycle boards are just working their butts off, so gonna go put in a flyer and put my head down and see what we can do.
Well, you are, of course, in second place at the moment, which is the front row. Are you happy with that? You think you can go out there and put it up a bit further?
Yeah, the goal is always put it on pole position, but front row is the main objective here, and put on a real good qualifying for our home race here.
Excellent. Best of luck. Back to you, Jamie.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so Tyler giving a little bit of insight to their strategy for this session, starting it out on an old tire, seeing how it was for the first couple of laps, and he was able to be right up there at the top. Second right now is right behind Hayden Gillum.
It's a really good lap this morning, 35.7, and then come out and be a couple tenths quicker than that on a tire with 12 or 13 laps. It's got to, you got to be feeling pretty good about that.
For Hayden Gillum, I just mentioned he is sitting on the provisional pole right now. It is a 1:35.216 for Hayden, so that is the new track record here for Mission King of the Baggers at Brainerd International Raceway. And we've seen this at each of the tracks that we've gone to so far this season, just with the pure development of these bikes and what the teams have been able to do. They're able to better the lap times everywhere we go.
And even for Hayden, he already owns 1 track record from the day, so what's better than 1? Getting 2 of them.
He said it at the end of that Stock 1000 qualifying session when he was talking to Joe down there. He said it's been a really good Friday. Well, he said that before he'd even gone out for the first qualifying session in King of the Baggers. So you can just see the confidence that he's carrying with him, and no matter what it is that he's riding.
And it just shows you, you go back to when the momentum and you got confidence and things are going right, and showing up to a track that you got a lot of success at. And Hayden and, even the Vance and Hines guys admitted earlier in the year that they made a lot of changes, and it took them a little while to figure that out. And now look at them getting the reward from the, all those changes in that different direction, and now they're setting the pace.
If you remember back to the preview show that we had back at MotoAmerica, Hayden was one of our guests on there, and he was really looking forward to that weekend, even though now he'd like to forget it. But it all was due to the new parts and the new pieces and everything that they had on that bike. And now here this weekend, we're getting to see all of that hard work starting to pay off. Now looking at the number 13, this is another Harley Davidson bike. This one is Corey West. He's been a part of this category for a number of years now, and I love the way that he puts it, that we're doing things on these bikes that should have never been possible.
And I mean, he's right, and that commercial kind of says it all. You gotta you know, the confidence that he has in this, and like you said, been in the bagger and the Saddleman team, got a big program in it, and it's great to see them be part of this class.
If you're here at Brainerd International Raceway and you're out in the campgrounds, maybe you're just getting set up for the weekend of racing that's about to unfold, all these bagger teams are all together in their own little paddock area, and you know, every ticket at a MotoAmerica event gets you into the paddock where you can go and walk around and see the bikes up close and personal, watch as the crews are working on them in between the different sessions. And it's cool to have all the baggers together because you can really see the differences in all of them.
And their own development. I mean, you can go see one Harley and look at the next and see all the different parts. So it's it's fun to look at, man. They're unique. I mean, you talk about superbike parts on a bagger.
As you see Jake Lewis on that number 85, that's the Saddleman teammate bike to Corey West. Jake's had a good day as well. Out in qualifying already, able to qualify inside of the top 5. Earlier on, you see that number 1, that is Hayden Gillum right in front of him. So Jake is riding right there behind Hayden, who's a provisional pole sitter, seeing if he can pick up a few things.
2 Owensboro boys.
Oh yeah, they're from your neck of the woods.
Just like at home. You know, Jake in the rain at Road America on the bagger was pretty close to the podium.
In that first race, he finished 4th in the rain.
It's his best finish for the bagger.
Just under 15 minutes remaining in this session. You can see a number of the riders are on pit lane right now, making some changes, maybe putting a fresh tire on. You see another rider there pulling off to come into pit lane. It's a unique track layout here at Brainerd is the pit lane. If you're just joining us, pit lane is not, you can see it, see all of those easy up, all the tents that are there in that straight line. That's pit lane where you see the bike now coming down, but that is not aligned with start finish. It's one of the unique characteristics. It was Hayden Gillum who was making his way in to the Vance and Hines team.
Do that back out?
You need?
What's the pressure at there?
It was 22.
So listening in on the Audio Technica microphones, this is great insight into what happens when a rider comes in. You know, he very calm. There's no hurry, there's no rush, and he tells his crew member exactly what it is that he needs. He says, go back to crew member. Well, is there anything else that you need? And Hayden's curious, right? He wants to know what are the air pressures. So they're going to check all of that stuff out for him.
And then you know, like the tire pressure, you kind of make that mental note, and then you know if you're in a situation again, if they do change the tire pressure and it feels like it does today, you can tell your team, you know, your crew guys, hey, remember at Brainerd we took a pound out of the rear and it made it feel a lot better. So you ask those questions, and you just put them in your memory bank in case you need them later down the line.
See Tyler O'Hara on this number 29. Indian is back out on the racetrack. He was talking to Joe down there in pit lane just a couple minutes ago. He said they started the session off on an older tire, and Corey West now off track. He's keeping it up on 2 wheels. But Tyler's now back out on the racetrack to see what he can do. Session's not quite as long as we saw for Superbike or for Super Sport, but for these riders and you know the weight of these bikes, and they need the lap time, sure, but we're already down to 12 minutes.
Yeah, it goes by quick, especially if you're having problems during a session or a mechanical. You see that time really go by quick. And we see Tyler O'Hara came in the pits, talked about he went out early on in the session with the tire with 12 or 13 laps on it, and now we're going to get to see him go out, and we know that this tire is brand new, so we'll see what kind of lap times Tyler can put in.
Looking at the first race for tomorrow for Mission King of the Baggers. Well, after they have the challenge, it'll come right after the second qualifying session, but their race is scheduled to be 9 laps. So when you're able to go out there on an old tire that's older than what the race distance is going to be, it really does give you an indication, Roger, of of what to expect.
Yeah, and I think just kind of let you know what your race pace is, and he should be able now, I think, with some less, try to do another long run. There's 11 minutes left in this session, so, he could probably do another half race distance or even more and just keep gathering those notes and backing it up.
Hayden Gillum is also back out on the racetrack. He's gone personal best in the second sector of the lap that he's on right now. So those little slight changes that they were able to make, he's able to use them and improve at least parts of the racetrack. We'll continue to stay here with Tyler O'Hara, currently sitting second, just behind Hayden Gillum. It's close though, only 2 seconds. If you go back first, second, third, the whole provisional front row right now, all within 3/10 of each other. You go back to Kyle Wyman, who is currently sitting in 4th in terms of lap time, and he's only 3/10 of a second behind those.
Tyler O'Hara lost a lot of time right there in that second sector. He was right on it and then lost 4/10. The third sector pop up pretty soon, but sometimes you can come in and you see how fast you are on a used tire, and you get a new one and you think, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be a half a second quicker easily. And it doesn't always work like that. And also you can override it. You get that new tire, I'm going to have grip, and you try to maybe force it a little too much.
So he puts another lap in, but there was no improvement there for Tyler O'Hara. It was another 1:35 for him, a 1:35.8, his best so far, a 1:35.4. So he's right there in this repeatable range as we're now with Kyle Wyman on the number 33, currently sitting down in 4th, which is not where we're used to seeing Kyle in terms of where he's been throughout the season. But I do know that this racetrack in particular is not one of the favorites on the schedule for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking back at the results from last year, this is definitely Kyle's worst track with a 5th and then a 4th. 2 top 5s. He's so consistent, so good. 2 top 5s, and you say it's his worst track. It's definitely one that he hasn't got figured out.
You see there on the screen, Hayden Gillum, a 1:34.7 on that last lap for that number 1 plate. And again, he's already broken the track record early on in the session. He just continues to lower it as that clock ticks down. Back with Tyler O'Hara, still sitting second place right now, but the gap has opened up to almost 7/10 of a second. But he did on that second sector, the lap that he's on right now, he was able to improve his own time. Right now, the lap that he's ticking away at is only a 10th behind Hayden Gillum. A 1:35.0 for Tyler O'Hara, so he was able to stay right there with Hayden Gillum as the two of these riders are continuing to drop the lap times. Just over 3/10 of a second separate the two of them as we now look at Rocco Landers, who was quick this morning. He was second with a 1:35.6. Looking at what he's done right now, he's at a 1:35.8 in this qualifying session. So he hasn't been able to get into that same range that he was in for practice session this morning, but there's still almost 8 minutes left, Roger.
Yeah, still a lot of time left, and could be out on a used tire early on in this session, and we'll see what Rocco can do is time-wise down. See where he hit his right leg off there? That is the part where tells me, just knowing Rocco and watching him ride, that he's finally feeling at home on the bagger and being able to be aggressive and have that confidence.
See Kyle Wyman on pit lane right now. Kyle is on board, he's ready to go. He wants to get back out there, but the crew's still working on something.
Yeah, it looks like toward the rear wheel. I don't know if they put a new one in, or they might do a tire pressure adjustment, but it's something on the bike there, and get it tuned up. Let's see if he pulls off. Yeah, it looks like it's looks like it was a new one.
New rear.
Kyle has the best second sector of the whole track, so he's got some parts of the track that he's kind of struggling overall, but parts of the track he's strong.
Kyle Wyman and was that Corey West or was that Jake Lewis? Jake Lewis both leaving pit lane. We have Jake on the number 85 from Saddleman. of them go out together. They'll get up to speed. See Rocco Landers. He's on a lap right now. He went his personal best in the second sector. Our timing and scoring screen in here showing that he also went his personal best in the first sector.
Right through here, the baggers to that tight chicane. It's amazing how fast they're able to change directions on these bikes. As heavy as they are, to be able to just right, left, and just shoot out of there.
And for Rocco, that's one of the things about this category that he's really had to figure out. You know, we talk about him all the time as being one of those riders who will happily just hop on anything. He always wants to be riding, but in terms of the bagger, like, it's such a big bike, you've really got to get used to it.
Yeah, good lap for Rocco there. Moved himself up to third, and like you said, it's just totally different. And I think the thing that catches riders off guard when they go to the bagger class is how hard you can actually ride them. You know, how good they actually do handle, and that's something that's, you know, you gotta, only way you can get the confidence in that is going out there and getting the laps in.
That lap that Rocco just put in, you see him, not sure if he's pumping his fists and shaking his head because he's happy or he was frustrated about something. But he's out there on his own, so it would be frustration on himself. You see Kyle Wyman, 33.
I don't see Jake behind Kyle still.
Yeah, that's a good point. When the two left pit lane, Jake was right there with them.
You hear Kyle, you could hear his rear tire screeching when he was going into turn 3 there. Just so hard on the brakes. Has it backed in. Kyle's out there trying to get a good lap in. Just went through the first sector with his personal best. Second sector should come up now. Not any better, but still he's a lot closer overall than the first two sectors to Hayden.
Looking at MotoAmericaLivePlus.com and the live timing section that's on here for Kyle Wyman. You know, if I'm looking at his personal best sectors, his best potential lap time with what he's been able to do independently would be a 1:35.3. The time that he's been able to put up is a 1:35.5. So he's right there.
He's close.
When he goes back and looks tonight, he'll be happy with the fact that he was able to put the sectors together the way that he has, but he's going to look at those time charts and see, well, Hayden Gillam's up there with a 1:34.7.
And now he moved up to third to put himself in the front row. So Kyle's just kind of, seems like he's chipping away, just getting a little bit closer. And, you know, a track that he doesn't really love, so just out there getting a lot of laps in and trying to figure it out.
That 1:35.310 that Kyle Wyman just did was, we were watching him, you know, I mentioned how close he was. It was only 4 thousandths off of what his best potential would have been. It was a great lap for him. So we now watch Corey West on the number 13 from Saddleman Racing. He just did his personal best time, a 1:38.2 for Corey, so he's been able to find some pace as well. Listening a little bit there, that was Hayden Gillam, our provisional pole sitter, who was talking to his team.
Kyle Wyman, see on the bottom of the screen there after the second sector, he's under Hayden Gillam's time.
Corey West continuing to go, but here's a look at Kyle Wyman right now, showing a lap that if he can make this one stick and continue through the pace that he's on right now, he could put himself right there at the front of the grid.
Yeah, he's looking back. He slowed down.
He slowed down. He lost it there in that third sector. He went from a 10th below pole to 2 seconds above it. That's how quickly it can happen.
So his average would have to be close to a low 35, you think?
A 35.0 now.
Yeah.
After this lap, his best potential time would be a 1:35.0 for Kyle Wyman. So we go back to Corey West.
Big mistake there, just got on the throttle a little hard. And the grip wasn't there. We've heard a lot of riders talking about struggling with grip this weekend.
Corey's looking over his shoulder also. The clock's about to expire for this first qualifying session. Under a minute now remaining on the clock. So we see Tyler O'Hara continuing. Right now he's on a lap. Look at that, Roger. He would be a 10th below pole.
The chicane is so tricky, though. See if he can get through there clean. It looks like he got through there really well. Really good run on the exit there. Third sector should pop up pretty quick after braking. Lost a little bit there. He'll get another lap if he really wants to, you know, depending on the grip of the tires after getting a couple laps on them.
It's going to be really close, though, on whether or not he gets another lap. 14 seconds remaining as he comes through that fourth sector. So he was right there as a 1:35.1 for Tyler O'Hara that last lap, and he beat the clock. So he's able to continue that pace that he has, the momentum that he's gotten before he takes the checkered flag. As we go back, Kyle Wyman has taken the checkered flag now, so he will end this first qualifying session provisionally on the front row, sitting in third for Tyler O'Hara. He did not have any improvement in that first sector on this lap. You see Rocco Landers, he's on his last lap. He's yet to take the checkered flag. He went his personal best in the second sector, but it's not enough right now to put him in contention for that provisional pole position. See if he can improve as the lap continues, though.
He's on a good one.
Yeah, it's his personal best so far, for sure.
You can see how hard he's pushing there, up out of the saddle, out of turn 12. Wants to get that provisional front row spot back.
So he now takes the checkered flag. He will stay in fourth. It was a 1:35.5 for Rocco. So despite having a better second and third sector, he was not able to gain enough from the first and the fourth to put that whole lap together. You see Tyler O'Hara now taking the checkered flag. He stays on that provisional front row in second. Looks like everybody's now taking the checkers.
Full-day race coverage on MotoAmerica Live Plus is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
We'll take a look at the results from this first session of qualifying for Mission King of the Baggers as you watch Kyle Wyman making his way back to pit lane. This is how it all unfolded, and everybody chasing Hayden Gillum there on the provisional pole. A new track record, a 1:34.7. Tyler O'Hara was right there, just over 3/10 off.
Yeah, Kyle Wyman, good session for him, getting close to the front. Rocco Landers, great start. James Rispoli fifth. Troy Hurtfalls, we've seen him have that crash early on in that session. Didn't get many laps, but still inside the top six.
See Tyler O'Hara there picking up Troy Hurtfalls. So Troy's been out there for this full session as these two riders make their way back to pit lane and debrief with the team. Let's take a look back. This was really cool. You see the Insta360 boards there in the background. This is a new partnership for the 2024 season. Look at these shots aboard Rocco Landers' bike in practice earlier.
Yeah, just you can really see the riders how much they work and how much with the body and how much they're actually moving. You see Rocco there. They're looking back and just how tight and technical this track is. I want to see it through when we come through this chicane. So this is the left-right, the really long carousel turn 8 there. It doesn't look like Rocco's on a good lap. But the chicane, where you can really see how tight it is to here. Look at that. And how fast they're able to make the baggers change directions.
The transitions are just incredible. And having these shots of it, it really allows you to see what it is that the rider sees. I mean, this angle right here.
And then the hard braking. Talk about turn 12. See how hard it is?
Yeah.
It comes up quick.
How much they have to slow those bike down. Also just how wide they sit on the bike also. Let's go ahead and get down to Joe as this picture continues. Joe's with our pole sitter.
Delighted to be with Hayden Gillim, who took his second provisional pole of the day. I mean, that must feel absolutely fantastic, especially as you had a crash in the last round. So tell me how great you felt out there.
Yeah, it's going really good. I'm happy to be up front. We've been struggling a little bit this year, and we're getting there. We're slowly chipping away, and these guys, the Vance and Hines guys, the Revzilla Motul guys, are working their butts off, and they gave me a great bike today, and I love this track. I'm enjoying it and having a good, I'm having fun, and that's the main thing. I was in the dumps at the last round, and now I'm happy and ready to go, and it's showing.
There's a good battle at the top of the standings in the baggers. What do you feel you have to do to catch up to those guys?
I need a whole lot of luck. Right now I'm down more points than I have, so it's going to take a lot of work to get there.
Okay, well, congratulations today, and we'll see you out there tomorrow. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, I love that smile on his face there, Roger, when he said that he's down more points than what it is that he has, and he knows it's going to be a tough road ahead, but he's certainly here and ready for it. We take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. We're going to start off on MotoAmerica Live Plus with Stock 1000, the second session of qualifying, followed by Steel Commander's Superbike Super Sport qualifying. Mission King of the Baggers will be qualifying session number 2, followed by their challenge, that 2-lap shootout for the $5,000 cash and bragging rights. And then after the lunchtime hour, we will get into the first race of the weekend. It will be the Stock 1000 race number 1, followed by Bellissimoto Twins Cup race number 1. Then we'll go into Super Sport, Steel Commanders, Superbike, Mission King of the Baggers, and then we'll wrap up our first day of racing with Junior Cup. And again, all of that action will be live on MotoAmerica Live Plus. So if you have not already, make sure you go ahead and go to liveplus.com, MotoAmericaLivePlus.com. Set up your account, get everything logged in and ready to go so you can join along with us for a full day of action here at Brainerd International Raceway. There is a chance of some rain. Things could get exciting, but after the beautiful weather that we had today, we certainly know who showed up with some pace, ready to race here this weekend. We'll be back tomorrow with all the action. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.